Welcome to the Thornton Review.
The show designed with you in mind. If it's important to you, it's important to us.
Zack Brantley has worked with the American Red Cross for 5 years. He has organized numerous blood drives and educational campaigns emphasizing the importance of regular blood donations to save lives. He works closely with healthcare professionals, community leaders, and volunteers to ensure that blood donations are safe, accessible, and impactful. Zack understands the critical need for compatible blood and the difference it can make in the lives of those affected by sickle cell disease. Interesting history of the American Red Cross. So the American Red Cross is a nonprofit humanitarian organization that offers services and development programs and provides emergency assistance, disaster relief, and disaster preparedness education in the United States. The American Red Cross was established in 1881 in New York by Clara Barton. Barton founded the American chapter after learning about the Red Cross in Geneva, Switzerland. In 1869, she went to Europe and became involved in the work of the International Red Cross during the Franco-Prussian War. She was determined to bring the organization to America. John D. Rockefeller and 4 others donated money to help Barton create a national headquarters near the White House. Abolitionist Frederick Douglass, a friend of Barton's, offered advice and support. As Register of Deeds for the District of Columbia, Douglass also signed the American Red Cross's original Articles of Incorporation. The American Red Cross supplies roughly 45% of the donated blood in the United States, which it sells to hospitals and regional suppliers, and provides more than 1/4 of the nation's plasma products. Hi, I'm Pueschel, Schneier, executive producer and manager of the Thornton Review. Thank you for tuning in. Our guest on today's show is Zack Brantley, donor recruitment account manager of the American Red Cross. Zack, it's really nice to have you on the show. It's nice to meet you. I know quite a few people on the board of directors, and of course Terry is the executive director of the American Red Cross, and she's been on. And I've had other people on the Thornton Review talking about sickle cell and the leukoreduction that they do to the blood. It goes through a process. But so it's nice to meet you finally.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Nice to meet you.
So please introduce yourself.
Hey, so I'm Zack Brantley. I manage our territory from Mobile, Alabama, all the way east over to Panama City. So any blood drive that's going on with American Red Cross, I'm working with that church or business or organization to help coach them on how to have a good blood drive. And a good blood drive means one that we have a good turnout for, lots of people, and we make our goal. So we set a goal for all our blood drives for how many people we want to come out. And I try to work with our partners to recruit people to teach them the importance of blood donations and just hold their hand through the process. So that's what I do for work, and I've got a wife and 3 small kids at home.
Great. Well, congratulations on that and your job.
Thank you.
So, I have a lot of questions for you. This is going to get interesting.
Okay.
So we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll begin our discussion with Zack Brantley of the American Red Cross. There is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that. Company can install any type of fence. When you call and mention the Thornton Review, you'll receive a $100 discount on your fence. They also offer military discounts. Vinyl fence, wood fence, aluminum fence, chain link fence. If it has the word fence, Alpha Fence Company can do it. 850-586-8020. 850-586-8020. Welcome back. I've got a ton of questions for Zack, so we'll start at the very beginning. There is a sickle cell blood drive coming up. Can you tell us about that and where it's going to be?
Sure. Yeah, so we've got a blood drive going on at Greater Little Rock Baptist Church. That's in the North Hill area of Pensacola. That's going to be going on Saturday, March 29th from 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And we have a goal of 40 donors. So, as I mentioned earlier, we set a goal for the blood drive so that we know how many staff to send, and we can aim for something. And that's a predominantly African-American church. So we're hoping to gather a lot of African-American blood, which is important for our sickle cell initiatives, which I'm sure we'll talk more about later.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So the church signed up to do the blood drive. We
Yes.
can probably talk more about that later, but I'm interested to know how you even sign up to do a blood drive, but
Sure.
we'll talk about that later. So how do individuals sign up for this particular blood drive?
Sure. So and just to hit on what you spoke about at the beginning, LaTanya Wesley, who's the pastor's wife there at the church, she wanted to. She knows Terry Jenkins, who's the executive director here in Pensacola, and she wanted to do a blood drive with us. So I went to meet with them and discuss that. We settled on a date, and if a donor would like to come to the blood drive, they can go to www.redcrossblood.org, and at the top right, there's going to be a little spot where it says "Find a Drive." And you can either type in a zip code or a keyword. And so at the top there, you can type in Greater Little Rock, and this drive will pop up.
Okay, and then you click on it and asks you questions and you sign up. It just walks you through the steps to sign up.
Correct. Yeah, it'll be as simple as choosing a time and putting in your name and contact info and signing up. Mm-hmm. And I always say that appointments are encouraged, but walk-ins are welcome. So we'll get to you a little bit faster with an appointment, but we'll still take you as a walk-in.
Okay. So if you're unable to make an appointment, but you want to give blood, I mean, some people might have a reason why they can't get on their computer and make an appointment, but they know about this blood drive, you will accept them anyway.
Of course, yeah. We take the appointments first, so whenever there's a lapse in appointments, the walk-ins will then be taken.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so can you walk us through, what's going to happen when they arrive?
Sure. So there's going to be a computer when you arrive. You'll need to bring a ID of some form. Preferably just like a driver's license or a donor card if you've donated with American Red Cross before. You'll be checked in at a computer. They'll scan your donor card, and it'll let the phlebotomists know who are going to be working the health screening stations. It'll cue them automatically that you have arrived at your appointment time, and then you'll grab a seat. They'll call you back as soon as they're ready, and so then you'll go through what we call the health screening. Okay, so they're going to check your iron, your blood pressure, your resting pulse. They're just going to make sure basically that you're healthy and well enough to donate. And then you're going to answer some health screening questions if you did not do those prior to coming to the drive. You can do those prior to coming to the drive by going to redcrossblood.org/rapidpass, or you can just Google Red Cross Rapid Pass and it'll come up. So that allows you to answer your health screening questions before coming to the drive that day. And so after you go through all that, assuming that you didn't answer any questions that deferred you from donating, then you would go lay on the bed. And then the actual part of from when you get stuck to when the bag is full for most people is about 8 minutes. So it's a relatively quick and swift process. And I always say it's just a pinch. That's what it feels like when the needle goes in.
Yeah. I think most people have had their blood taken for medical reasons, for one reason or another in their life. So most people know what it feels like. For me, I've had my blood taken many, many times over the years. I get it tested every year, every other year, just to see my iron count, to see my vitamin count and my lipids. I just get a full panel check. And I dread it every single time. I dread going in, and I go to Quest to have it done. But it depends on who's doing it.
Yeah.
Some people don't hurt you at all, and other people, I don't know they just can't find a vein. I don't know.
Sure.
So are your people that are doing this, experienced and know how to find a vein quickly. And
Sure. So first off, they do go through a rigorous training process before they're out in the field, if you will. But most of our phlebotomists are very seasoned. People who have had blood drives with us. There's people that do yearly blood drives with us, quarterly blood drives. And they're at the point where they know a lot of the phlebotomists by name. So there's a lot of people that have been here for 20 plus years and are very good at what they do. So
and y'all aren't getting complaints on that person hurt me.
no, not at all. And so I hope that anybody who donates at this drive has a favorable experience in regards to
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, because some people who have never donated might be afraid of needles. You
Sure.
know. But they want to donate. They know it's the good thing to do. They're just kind of afraid of the experience. They don't know what to expect. So I'm glad you're explaining everything the way you are.
Yeah, and that's why I said it's just a pinch. And what I like to do is, if my wife or a friend or somebody is at the blood drive with me, when I know that the phlebotomist is about to stick me, I'll try to engage in a conversation
Sure,
with somebody
yeah.
so that
Think
by the
about
time it
something
happens,
else.
I don't even realize it happened.
Yeah, that's good. I do that too. Do the same thing. So how is the blood collected and used?
Sure. So yeah, we'll go to this drive. When the blood is gathered at the drive, they'll be putting it on ice. And then after the drive, they will take that blood back to Mobile. It'll go through our lab. It'll be processed. They'll be checking what the blood type is. They'll be checking for if somebody has the sickle cell trait. At this March drive, we're going to be doing free A1C testing. So everyone that comes to donate is going to be tested for prediabetes and diabetes.
And you give them the results, like they know their results.
Correct.
So-
So we recommend that everybody who's going to participate downloads the Blood Donor app. And the Blood Donor app's really neat because not only does it track, you said you go to yearly blood tests.
Yeah.
So this will not only tell you where your blood ultimately ends up going and being used. It might say, okay,
Oh, wow.
your blood was used at UAB Hospital in Birmingham
Wow.
or Baptist Health in Pensacola or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But it also tracks what your blood pressure, your resting heart rate, and your iron levels were at each time you've donated. So you can look back, if you donate a few times a year, over the course of 3 years, you can look back and you'll see my iron was getting lower over the years, or my iron levels were getting better, and my blood pressure was getting worse. So you're able to see that trend. So the coming to donate blood is almost like a free health screening, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you're killing two birds with one stone. You're helping somebody in need, and you're finding out about your own health.
Exactly. Yeah, and your body replaces the red blood
Sure.
cells lost in a donation very quickly. So I consider it to be like an oil change for the body. When you give that blood, your body has to reproduce new cells, which are likely to be healthier than the old cells.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way. Thank you for explaining that. It's making me want to go donate blood. So now what's the criteria for the blood?
So, like for donating?
Okay, yeah. So what's the criteria for the person who wants to donate?
Sure. So it's most people are eligible to donate. It's easier to say what keeps you from being able to donate,
Okay,
and that
yeah.
would be that you have to be at least 17 years of age.
Okay.
And there are weight requirements. Those are very low, so they typically only apply to very young individuals, and it also changes based on your height. So I can't say those off because there's a chart.
Okay.
If you're a woman who's 5'6", you have to weigh 100 pounds or whatever it may be. Don't take that as
Right.
But
It's
you
probably
could-
more.
Yeah, but you could look it up.
Oh, at
online.
least 100 pounds.
Red
You
Cross.
can't be under 100 pounds is what you're saying.
Well, I was just throwing random number out there.
There's a weight
chart
range.
online.
There's a
Yeah.
weight range.
So if you were worried that maybe you're really small and that you wouldn't be able to donate, you could look up Red Cross height and weight requirements for donating blood. And then there are medications that prevent people from donating,
Okay.
but that's a long list and it's ever changing, so I can't spill that off. Anybody who might want to donate blood but isn't sure if they'd qualify, if they're worried about medications they're on, they can call 1-800-RED-CROSS.
Okay.
But I always say if you're overall healthy and well, you're probably eligible to donate blood.
Yeah. What if somebody, this is just an off the wall question, I think, but what if somebody makes an appointment, they want to donate blood, but then they come down with a cold that morning?
Yeah.
They probably don't want to be out spreading germs for one thing, but
Yeah,
would you accept them if they were coughing and sneezing?
If they were coughing and sneezing, perhaps, but we would ask them at the drive,
Mm-hmm.
"Are you feeling healthy and well today?" So it would depend on how they answered that. Some
Mm-hmm.
people, might want to be tough and say, "Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
feeling fine," and we'll let you donate if you say you're feeling fine. But if you say you've got a cold and I'm not feeling well, we will
Right.
not allow you to donate.
Yeah, it's really weird because I've had COVID like 5 times. And sometimes when I have it, I'm bedridden for a week. And sometimes when I have it, I'm having the symptoms, but I still have energy. I'm not suggesting that somebody with COVID go
Sure.
donate, but I'm just saying that sometimes I'm sick, and probably other people, but I have energy. I'm still able to function.
Sure.
I'm just having these symptoms. But then other times I can't function. I'm just bedridden, like lethargic, no energy, can't even think straight, just need to, lay in bed for a couple days.
Well, we would definitely recommend
Not
the latter,
coming-
not to donate.
Exactly.
Yeah. We-
And I'm sure there's some diseases that people would not be able to donate. Like if you have hepatitis B, would you want
That's
anybody?
correct. There would be certain diseases, but that goes back to what you asked earlier. That's why it's so important that we have extensive testing. So all the blood, even if someone came and donated with
Because they might not know they have a blood disease.
correct.
And
So after they donate, it's going to go through testing, and we're going to make sure that there is nothing like that in the blood before the blood goes off to a hospital.
and if it had that, it would be destroyed.
It would be discarded. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, so there's no chance that it's going to get overlooked and
No
sent
chance.
off.
In fact, we are on the side of caution. Like my dad right now, for example, is very disappointed. He's a regular blood donor in the past. He likes to do what's called the power red donation, which is where you're doing double the amount of red cells. But they found something in his blood that even his doctor hasn't found when he's done blood work, but they found something in his blood that Red Cross deemed questionable, and they won't let him donate anymore. So
Wow.
we very
so
much
they are very thorough.
yeah, we very much err on the side of caution.
Sure. Good.
Yes.
That's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how can the community support the blood drive if they're unable to donate blood themselves?
Yeah, I think if you believe in the need for donating blood but you're unable to, I think the best thing you can do is be a spokesperson and encourage
Spread the word.
encourage a friend or family member. If you're middle aged and have a kid who's older than 17 years old, ask them to donate. Encourage them to go donate. Yeah.
Is there an age limit?
There's no age limit.
So
Typically,
you can be 75 and healthy and donate blood.
There's plenty of 75-year-olds
Okay.
donating blood regularly. Yeah, so no age limit. It's just that, the older one gets, the more likely they are to perhaps be on a medication that would prevent them from donating.
Like blood pressure medication. There's a list, I'm sure.
Yeah, but if you go to a blood drive, you'll see there's a lot of elderly people that are very active donors. That's probably the base of our group is the baby boomer generation.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So what message would you like to share with potential donors who might be hesitant?
Sure.
I think we almost kind of covered that.
Well, so a lot of people give blood in response to somebody they know needing blood. But it's important to keep in mind that for every person that needs blood, there's thousands of people out there that are suffering silently. Like your peer you mentioned earlier that needs blood, who has sickle cell. There are 29,000 pints of blood needed every day in the U.S. to maintain a stable blood supply. So just put that in.
Is it just for the sickle cell patients or
just-
everybody, trauma
yeah,
patients,
Just-
everybody?
Yeah, just overall. And different reasons for needing blood could be a car accident. Car accident victims sometimes might need up to 100 units of blood. Now that would be a very traumatic car accident where someone comes near to death. A woman hemorrhaging after birth.
Childbirth, yeah.
Yep. Sickle cell patients need regular transfusions. There's a number of reasons why people need blood, and 29,000 pints a day. So give so that when and if you or a loved one needs blood, it's there, because it's the blood that's already in the hospitals when an emergency happens that's going to save you. It's not people rushing to a blood drive that next day. It's too
Right.
late at that point.
Exactly, because the blood has to go through a process. It has to be tested first, and then you're not just taking a bag of blood out of somebody, testing it, keeping it in that bag, and then putting that bag into somebody else. It goes through a whole huge process.
Correct.
It's broken down.
Yep.
They break apart the leukocytes, the red blood cells, the plasma. Everything is broken up and spread out, divided, and going to different areas.
Yeah, and
It's a whole huge process.
It's a
It's
huge
a
process.
scientific, deep,
Yeah.
chemistry process. It's not just something plain and simple.
Yeah, and my boss's boss, Joel, he used to be the director of the lab, and he's got more acronyms, behind his name than anybody I know. He's a science guy, and he was the director of the lab. So, hopefully one day maybe he can come on and share in even more detail about that. So
Yeah. Well, so right now we're just wanting to get the word out. We're trying to spread the message that the Red Cross needs blood donors, and you're having a blood drive on Saturday, March 29th at Little Rock Baptist Church, and it's in
Yes.
North Hill. We'll get the address later, but you can Google search Greater Little Rock Baptist Church in North Hill in Pensacola, Florida, and get the address.
exactly.
And we're inviting you to go donate blood. So we're going to take a commercial break.
Sure.
But the Thornton Review is a civic engagement show with a purpose to spread awareness by interviewing local elected officials, candidates, and professional leaders, such as Zack. This is information you won't get anywhere else. You can watch the Thornton Review on our various outlets. Our website, thethorntonreview.com. On Vimeo, please follow the Thornton Review on Vimeo. On YouTube, please subscribe to the Thornton Review at the Thornton Review 7810. That's YouTube, the Thornton Review at the Thornton Review 7810. Our Facebook page, the Thornton Review Show. There's 2 Facebook pages, but go to the one that has Show, the Thornton Review Show. Please like our Facebook page. And on TV, WBQP, channels 12.1 and 12.8, and WBQP on Roku and Fire Stick. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion with Zack Brantley, Donor Recruitment Account Manager for the American Red Cross. We are blessed as a nation to have President Trump back as our leader. Unlike President Trump's first term, we're finally seeing what the man is capable of. During his first term as president, he wasn't able to do what he promised on many issues. He couldn't. He was repeatedly blocked by the House, Senate, and federal judges. His entire first term in office was based on a witch hunt to find some crime that he didn't commit. Instead of helping to make America great again, the left focused on everything they could to bring him down. What were they trying to hide? They used impeachment trials, the fake dossier, lies about Russia collusion, and they made up all these lies to take our focus away on what Trump was really wanting to expose. Then he was completely blindsided by the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, within the first 3 weeks of Trump's second presidential term, he has already exposed a lot of what they were trying to hide. Trump and his new team of true MAGA patriots are exposing the corruption. He's draining the swamp, and he's putting competent, lucid-minded people in high-ranking positions who actually care about making America great again. He's creating policies that benefit everyone in America. We're finally seeing what we expected to see in 2017. I'm calling this the America First segment, highlighting our current 2025 Trump administration and what they're doing for the America First agenda that he promised. Here are my top 10 accomplishments during Trump's first 3 weeks in office. It's actually 12. He had 10 out of 15 cabinet members confirmed, pardoned the January 6 prosecutors, signed over 300 executive orders designed to put America first, protect our borders, and reverse harmful Obama and Biden-era policies, fired at least 6 high-ranking government department officials and several career prosecutors who were involved in the witch hunt investigations against him. He established the DOGE and put Elon Musk in charge of exposing and reversing government waste, fraud, and misuse of tax dollars. Flew to North Carolina and California to meet with citizens and officials regarding the devastation caused by Hurricane Helene and the California wildfires. Fired the Kennedy Center Board of Trustees and installed himself as chair because the board members did not share his vision for a golden age in arts and culture and instead allowed drag shows to be performed there. Reinstated thousands of troops who were kicked out of the military for refusing the COVID-19 vaccine and removed DEI inclusion requirements from the military. Ordered a pause on all federal grants and loans until the Trump administration reviews the programs to ensure they are not wasteful and that they align with America First priorities. Revoked Biden's security clearance, renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, stopped the minting of the penny because it takes 2 cents to mint each 1 cent piece. Think of the money he's saving there. Our federal government under Biden was weaponized against us. That administration allowed corruption on many levels with DEI policies, overseas policies and spending, weakened border, and a weakened military. We have America back with an administration who not only promised, but is showing us an America First agenda. Trump will make our military strong again. He will secure our borders. He will drain the swamp and eliminate wasteful government spending and fraud. And most importantly, Trump will make America great again. Thank you for tuning in and for staying tuned in with us. We are talking with Zack Brantley of the American Red Cross. And so sickle cell is important to me, your sickle cell initiative, because I have a very close family friend. Her name's Angie. She has sickle cell. And she has been a family friend for over 20 years. She rents a house from us. We know her family. You know, we're close, we're friends. And she used to work for me in my housekeeping service. And she was probably the best housekeeper I've ever had. She knows how to clean a house. She's very dependable, honest, trustworthy, and did a fantastic job. But she has sickle cell, and she has to have transfusions. And it progressively got worse for her, where she felt good for a couple days or maybe a couple weeks afterwards. But then it progressively just, went downhill to where she was almost bedridden by the time it came to her next transfusion. So I don't know if she needs transfusions more frequently or what's going on with that, or, how a doctor would prescribe how often you need a transfusion. But I just want to just lay it out that it is important to give blood for people like that, because Angie is important. It's not only for her health, obviously for her health and her well-being, but she's important to everybody around her. She's important to her family. She was important to me and my family. She did a lot of work and a very helpful, giving person. She's just simply not able to do it because of the sickle cell. Yep. So that's why it's so important to give blood.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why this blood drive at Greater Little Rock is really important. So Greater Little Rock is a predominantly African-American church, and so we're hoping to get a lot of African-American blood donations at this blood drive. And 1 in 3 African-Americans have the antigen needed in blood for it to be transfused to a sickle cell patient. Mm-hmm. I don't know the rate for Caucasians, but it's far less. Mm-hmm. So when we have...
But white people can give blood.
Correct.
And it possibly can be used for a sickle cell patient.
Correct. It's just far more likely that the African American's blood is going to be a good match for a sickle cell patient.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Yep. So 1 in 3 African Americans are going to have that that trait that's needed for a sickle cell patient. And just a random fact on that is sickle cell patients who are getting transfusions very regularly, oftentimes monthly, with your friend maybe a little bit less, some people more or less, but sickle cell patients are getting a ton of transfusions compared to the regular person who likely will never need a transfusion in their life. And they can never receive blood from the same person twice.
Oh, wow.
So their body and I'm gonna try not to
Probably
talk.
because their immune system would not.
Yeah, they build up antibodies against it once they
Yes.
get a
That
transfusion.
makes sense.
So that's why Red Cross has, made not only getting enough blood a huge priority, but we've come up with this sickle cell initiative in 2021 to make sure we're getting the right type of blood, and that's why we're trying to have these blood drives in the African American community to make sure that we're getting these sickle cell units. So, let's see, I wanted to share a couple. So since 2021, when we launched our sickle cell initiative, when we went all into, okay, we're going to do everything we can to make sure all these sickle cell patients have not only enough blood, but that there's the right type blood and that it's not a duplicate of what's been used in the past, so that it's a match with them. So we've had over 108,000 first-time African-American blood donors in the U.S. since 2021 as part of our sickle cell initiative. So that's
Is that because you're getting the word out?
yeah, it's mainly about education. We have to make sure that African Americans know that their blood is important for, and so it's not only African American blood that is good for these patients, but it's primarily African Americans who have the sickle cell disease as well.
Yeah.
So it's mainly an education thing and letting them know how important it is that they donate so that their peers who are suffering from this disease have the right type blood they need.
It's all just interesting.
It is.
I love to hear about the breakdown of the blood and the leukoreduction and the entire process.
Yeah, it's very
So
neat.
we'll have to have another discussion
Sure.
on that. But so how does sickle cell disease affect individuals? Like, what does it do to them? What does their blood look like under a microscope?
I wish I could tell you that.
Well, it looks like a sickle. The red blood cells are shaped differently.
Well, yeah, I've got that here. So, what is it? So they become misshapen and break down, and this leads to severe pain, anemia, which anemia is basically very low iron, and other complications.
It's because the blood cells cannot carry the iron to their organs.
Correct.
It loses its ability.
Yeah, so a lot of the times these people are in severe pain, and many of these people are just suffering silently because they may look like somebody who's perfectly healthy.
And they're not able to function in society. They lose their jobs. They become bedridden. So
And oftentimes these people, it's crazy, right after a transfusion, they'll come back to life. So it just goes to show that the power of that blood transfusion, but oftentimes they're not getting another transfusion in time to where they're really suffering with a lot of pain and lethargy before they get that next transfusion.
Exactly.
And a lot of times that may be because they haven't found a match for that person yet.
what causes sickle cell? Is it genetic? Are you born with a gene that you are going to have sickle cell, or is it something that can happen through the environment?
Sure. So we do have a sickle cell account manager who's more knowledgeable about this stuff than I am. So please don't quote me on this. I'm pretty sure this is correct, but I believe if two people who have sickle cell trait have a baby, that baby is likely to have sickle cell disease. So that's
So
why
it's definitely, it's all hereditary. It's not something that's just going to happen in the environment.
correct, and that's why this stuff can be really important, right? Like if you were to know, so we do sickle cell testing on all our donors who identify as African American, and I had a stat here I wanted to show. So of the above, I mentioned over 108,000 first-time African American donors since 2021. 40% of those who were tested positive for having the sickle cell trait had no idea that they had the sickle cell trait.
Right.
So,
But they could pass it on to their children. That's the danger.
Correct. And if you and someone who perhaps you were very interested in realized that you both had it, that would be a very important decision to make. Is, hey,
Very
are we going to have
important.
children, knowing that our children are going to come into the world with a high likelihood of having
Right.
sickle cell?
Almost 100%
Disease. Yeah.
likelihood.
And,
Yeah.
you know, back in 2006, there was a big initiative to start testing newborns with for sickle cell. But I mean, that only covers people who are 19 years and under right now. So there's a lot of people who, so probably if you're 19 years or younger and you have sickle cell trait, you may know it just because of testing at birth.
Right.
But people older than that, who have maybe never gone in for blood work or never donated blood, they might not know. So if you don't know, coming to donate blood would be not only a selfless act in potentially saving someone else's life, but it'd be a really good way of checking for free to see if you have sickle cell trait.
Sure. Right. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So, do you know? Do they still do blood tests before people get married? Does the county or wherever you apply for your marriage license? Because I can't remember. I don't think that when my husband and I got married, I cannot remember if we had a blood test.
I didn't get a blood. I was married 6 years ago, and I don't remember getting a blood test for that.
Yeah, it was almost 22 years ago. But so. You were saying that they used to give a blood test. I think my parents had a blood test back in 1968 when they got married.
That testing newborns for sickle cell trait,
newborns, not people getting married.
Correct, was not a thing until 2006.
Well, I think they should give an option at least. People wanting to get married, get your blood tested, see if you're compatible to have children.
Yeah, wouldn't that be quite an unfortunate thing to realize? You know, if you were with someone and y'all had plans to have 4 children and you realize that, oh my gosh, like our children, we're going to give them, if we have children, they're going to have sickle cell.
Give them the option of knowing.
Yeah.
You know, at least some people might not want to know.
Yeah.
You know, because some people, I think some Christians just are like, you know, I'm going to put it in the Lord's hands. I don't need to know what my blood is. But some people might want to know.
Yeah, I agree. I would likely want to know, so that way I could at least be prepared for what life might look like.
Yeah. So when you go to the county courthouse, so when my husband and I got married, we went to the county courthouse because you have to apply for the marriage license, and that's when you're actually married by the state.
Yeah, not on your wedding.
But then I know, but then you go and you have a holy matrimony. They gave us a pamphlet to read, but you know, before we signed it, and it was all about divorce, how to get a divorce.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it wasn't, you know,
How to stick it out.
I know. Yeah, nothing like that.
That's unfortunate. We need to appeal to have that change.
Yeah, it needs to be, you know, this is until death do you part.
That's
It needs
right.
to have some biblical verses in there explaining why, and it needs to have an option. Do you want a blood test?
I like that.
Yeah.
Let's go out there and make it happen.
Let's do it. Okay, so back to the blood. So we just can't express enough how important it is to give blood, especially for people who have sickle cell and, of course, trauma victims.
Yep.
So there's a constant need for blood. You like, say 100,000 people gave blood in one day. That blood is only good. It only has a shelf life of like 45 days.
42 days.
42 days.
Right? And yeah, so it's just like, right, we know, everybody knows somebody out there who's a prepper, right? Well, that prepper, I promise you, is not, they're storing a lot more dry goods than
Right.
they are milk and meats.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have milk and meats in a fridge or freezer,
Right.
but you can store a lot more dry goods
Yeah.
than you can perishable
So blood
goods.
is more like milk.
It's
It's
more-
going to go bad. It's going to coagulate. It's going to
Yep.
do something.
And so, you know, what's done at a standard blood drive is blood, and that's 42 days. Platelets, I might have this wrong, it's less than a week, the shelf life
Wow, yeah.
on platelets. So yeah, there's an ongoing need. So if you think that blood that's donated at the March 29th blood drive that we're talking about, over that next, let's say 3 to 7 days, it's going to be in the lab in Mobile being processed. So let's just say April 1st it's ready. Well, just say for simple math, by the end of April that blood's
It has
not,
to be
not good
distributed
anymore. So
to
it's gotta be
whoever's ordering.
distributed and used by the end of April.
So different hospitals around so the Red Cross provides 45% of the blood provided to hospitals and places that need blood.
It's 40%. Yes,
40%.
but yeah, so of that number I said earlier, 29,000 pints of blood are needed every day. Red Cross is supplying
Every day. You're at 40% of it.
40%, so just say rough math, 11 to 12,000. Red Cross is collecting about 11 to 12,000 units of blood every day.
Every day across the nation.
Yep. So our district is called Alabama Gulf Coast. So we're the whole state of Alabama.
From Mobile. Oh,
Yep, the whole state of Alabama.
Birmingham.
And then we've got the Mississippi coast, and then the Florida Panhandle.
okay.
And in
So
our
it's bigger than I thought for some reason.
So in our region, we're collecting. we collect about 200 a day. So
200 pints.
200 pints of blood, which is one.
How many
donation.
people is that?
That's 200 people roughly.
Okay.
Or if you
Okay.
do, as I mentioned
So
earlier.
they take a pint.
Well, yeah, but I mentioned earlier, my dad liked doing the Power Red donation. So a Power Red donation is where you're able to give double the amount of red cells, and you're able to safely do that because you're getting back your platelets and plasma, and they're giving you some IV fluids as well.
So what if somebody is kind of anemic by nature, because I am.
Sure.
I probably don't eat enough iron, but I take iron supplements. It's just to keep and that's why I have my vitamins checked every year, is
Yep.
because I know I'm anemic. I'm low in vitamin B12, iron, folic acid, and vitamin C. So I'm sure to take that every single day to keep
Good.
my vitamins up. And, for the past 20 years, I've been okay. But, so is that okay if somebody is by nature a little bit anemic, but they're taking supplements?
Well, that's why we check that at the blood drive, right? So we do just a little finger prick, and then we put it in this handy little machine, and it tells us what your iron count is, and if it's too low, we're not going to take your blood.
But what if it's in range because you're taking an iron supplement?
Yeah, if it's in range, you're
Okay,
fine.
okay.
Like, for example, my wife always has low iron, but when it's coming time for her to donate blood, she's got this stuff. It comes in this glass bottle she keeps in the fridge, and she
Yeah.
takes a little shot of it, and her iron will be great when she donates if she takes that for a week beforehand. So we do recommend that people who really want to donate, who maybe have low iron, maybe try to eat some beef, eat some spinach, and or take some iron supplements leading up to the day of your blood donation, so that you can have high enough iron count to donate. And of course, the reason we're not taking people's blood who have low iron is just for their own health. Those people would be more likely to pass out or something if they donated
Right,
blood, because they don't have any extra, they don't have enough extra to give, if you will.
Yeah, I get it. And I personally would recommend eating organic beef, grass-fed, free-range beef, and organic spinach.
Okay.
It's just my personal recommendation. Eat clean, no preservatives, no antibiotics in your cow,
I'm all about it.
no bovine growth hormone.
Sure. And I can personally attest, so I worked for the Red Cross from 2015 to 2019, and then I had a sabbatical doing other things, and then I've been back working for Red Cross. So I had a period where I didn't donate for a couple years. And over that time, I just got on a beef kick. I was eating a lot of beef. And it used to be that when I donated blood, my iron was usually enough, but it was barely enough to be able to donate. And then when I came back, my most recent time donating, it was like almost so high that I couldn't donate. So
Oh, wow.
and I
Well,
test.
high iron's not good for you either,
Well, yeah.
if it's too high.
Correct. So
So
there's a range, but
Yeah.
most people fall within the range. But I was eating so much beef that my iron went from barely enough to on the high end.
the top of the range.
Correct. So it can be changed through lifestyle for sure. It's
Sure.
not like just you're doomed genetically if you have low iron.
Good. Yeah, I think a lot of times it is, some of it could be hereditary because my aunt had low iron, but I think it's diet,
Yeah.
probably for me.
Yeah, and women are more likely to have low iron because of something that happens once a month.
Exactly,
Yeah.
So, can you explain more about the process of the blood? I know that that's really not your department, but it's
Sure.
so interesting to me.
Yeah.
The leukoreduction, that they break the blood apart, because if you don't really think about it, if nobody's ever explained it to you,
Yeah.
you're thinking, okay, they're taking the blood, they're going to test it to make sure it doesn't have hepatitis B, they're going to test the iron levels, the vitamin levels, and then they're going to take that blood and they're going to put it in the person who needs it. That's not what happens.
Sure.
At all.
Well, what I can tell you is that, so we get a report every day at the Red Cross that tells us about the different blood types, and it's green, yellow, or red. And green tells us on the days coming up, green means that all the hospital orders for this blood type have been fulfilled. Yellow means some of those orders have been reduced. Red means that a lot of the orders have been reduced. So as I mentioned earlier, the blood gets collected at the blood drive. It goes on ice. It goes back to Mobile, to our lab, to be tested.
Tested for disease and vitamin count, and then it goes through a process.
And then so every hospital is going to have a blood bank director, and go ahead.
Okay. So they're testing the individual blood.
Correct.
For everything. They have to, but then all of those individual bloods go into one stream, into a process, right?
Correct.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, and then it's going out to hospitals from there.
Yeah.
Based on the needs of the hospitals. So most hospitals have a blood bank director, and that's a lot of times who we work with for the blood drives, and who we've got a rep that works with them on knowing what their particular needs are at that hospital. And then we've got a whole team that's allocating the blood appropriately based on where it's needed by blood type. So it's a huge process. When you've got multiple blood drives going on every day, and then that's coming in, and we're having to decide, okay, we've got 25 units of O negative, we've got 34 units of A positive. This hospital needs this hospital needs this. Where does it go? And hospitals, to take it a step further, hospitals oftentimes are scheduling procedures based on their inventory at the blood bank.
Sure.
If there's a procedure that's going to be done, a surgery that they expect, okay, we might need blood for this person. If they need AB negative blood, if that person starts bleeding too much in a procedure and would need AB negative blood, they want to make sure they have units of AB negative in the blood bank at the hospital before they schedule the procedure.
So it's constantly changing. It's constantly changing on the circumstance, on the individual who needs the blood, because there's different reasons. There's always going to be sickle cell blood that's needed.
Yeah.
Always. That's a given. There's always going to be a certain amount of sickle cell blood, because there's always a certain amount of patients that they might come and go in small numbers, but the hospital knows how many sickle cell patients they have.
Correct.
But the trauma patients, you never know who is going to be a trauma victim and going to need blood.
Yep. So that's why. Do you know what the universal blood type is? Just to give you the universal donor. You're not expected to know. It's O negative.
I was going to say
so
O negative.
O negative is the blood type where, let's say, John Doe comes into the hospital. They're unidentifiable. They've just been in a motorcycle accident.
No time to test what blood type they are.
No time to test what blood type they are. They're getting O negative.
Okay.
And so O negative is always where we're going to have low inventory. And let's say, for example, Santa Rosa Medical Center in Milton, somebody goes in there, they've been in a motorcycle accident, and they need 10 units of O negative. Well, that might completely wipe out that hospital's O negative supply, because they're a smaller hospital. They probably don't even carry that much. I don't know their numbers, but so that's gonna change the needs because of that one single motorcycle accident. So it's ongoing, ever changing based on what's going on out in the world.
And so we're talking about quick delivery. It has to be delivered quickly.
Well, it would need to
in
be there already. But yeah, in a case of that, we would probably be getting a call, that night saying,
Helicopter
hey, our O negs are gone. We need more. When can you get them to us?
Patients in.
Yep.
Yeah. So, is there ever a time where the blood just sits on the shelf at the hospital, and so 40 days, is that 42 days, we've got to dispose of it?
Yeah, I'm sure, unfortunately, that some blood does get discarded at times. Go ahead.
And the Red Cross, I'm sure they keep track of which blood goes where, which blood type goes where.
Sure, yeah. That's what I was saying. Like, the director of the hospital blood bank is going to have a relationship with somebody within Red Cross, not me. I'm putting on the blood drives. Then we've got another guy, his name's Kevin, in our region, who's going to be working with all the hospitals, identifying their needs, and then looking at our supply and allocating it accordingly. So I'm sure as soon as the motorcycle accident we hypothetically talked about happens, he's probably getting a call saying, hey, we need O negative blood as soon as possible.
And so the hospitals have, the process of the blood, you have different types of blood. Say you have 40 people come to that's your goal, is to have 40 people come to this blood drive. Hopefully you have 75.
I hope so
too. I hope you do. So you test the blood type, and then everybody with AB positive, after it's tested for disease and vitamin count, and whatever mineral count, whatever you test, and then it goes all into one pot, you have to keep the different blood types separated.
Yeah, well, they're kept refrigerated in a lab, but it's not like they're all in. It's not like
they're all in their own individual
they're
bag.
all in their own individual bag. Yeah.
So each person's blood, if I give blood, my blood is going to stay in that bag. It's going to be tested. Then it's going to go through a process. It's going to be put back in the bag.
Yep.
And then sent. Okay. I was thinking it all goes into one pot.
No, because your blood is like a fingerprint. Your blood is unique to you, and when that blood gets transfused to a patient, they can never have your blood again. Mm-hmm. So that's why it needs to be separated and not combined by time. Because not only, for example, those sickle cell patients, right? They not only need a specific blood type, but they need the blood type with the antigens in it. So yeah, it's a very detailed process that I would like to know more about. It's above my pay grade, if you will.
I would urge anybody who knows that they have that sickle cell. What was the term you used?
The antigens.
The antigens.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's called CK negative, I believe.
To give regularly, because people really need it to function.
And that's something that rolled out in 2021 when we had this big sickle cell initiative. Donors now know about that. Like when they go onto their blood donor app, they know that they have this trait in their blood that is good for sickle cell patients. And a lot of times we do a good job of trying to communicate with donors. Like we have a whole team that might be responsible for calling that person after, if it's somebody's first time donating blood, after the blood goes through testing, we would try to call that person and just say, hey, thank you so much for your donation. We wanted you to know that you have XYZ. Your blood is good for babies, or your blood is good for sickle cell patients. And just let that person know how important their blood is, so that they continue to be a lifelong donor, and that they truly buy into the mission of how important it is to be a blood donor.
So that's really great. And the Red Cross has educated and experienced employees and volunteers working for them who know the process, who know what's going on, and who genuinely care about people and want to help people.
Correct. And we have a sickle cell manager in our state as well. So I'm an account manager. She can speak. Her name's Shatina Nosu, and she can speak way higher level about sickle cell.
I would love to have a conversation with her.
Yeah. And so when we're going to drives such as Greater Little Rock Baptist Church, when we're having these drives where we suspect there to be a lot of African American donors, I engage her and get her to speak to my contacts there, so that she can teach them about it at a higher level than I could.
Yeah, and she can explain scientifically how it's broken down.
Exactly.
If anybody's interested, like me,
Yeah,
the scientific nerd, I don't know anything about science, but I love to hear about it.
Yeah, no, it's been fascinating.
Yeah. Well, it's been a really great conversation with you. And I love the fact that you're so easy to talk to, and you're very good at explaining what's going on with the initiative, with the blood drive and the process. And I'm sure you make people feel at ease and want to go to the blood drive. So I appreciate you for that. I appreciate you for coming on. Do you have any closing statements that you'd like to make?
No, thank you for having me. And, if you've never donated blood before, I encourage you to do it. Make it a New Year's resolution if it's not too late. Or if your other one you've already lapsed on to, hey, I'm going to go try giving blood this year. And if you realize, which I think you will, that it's not as difficult or as big of a deal as you might have thought it would be, I encourage you to become a lifelong donor.
And it's March 29th.
Saturday, March 29th, 8:30 to 1:30 at Greater Little Rock Baptist Church.
And that's in North Hill in Pensacola, Florida.
Yes, ma'am. We hope to see you there.
We don't have the specific address, but it can be Google searched and found pretty easily, I believe.
It's a big church. Yeah, it'll pop right up.
And everybody's welcome who fits the criteria.
Exactly. I would just say everybody's welcome.
Yeah,
and
everybody's welcome.
We hope to see that. Oh, and a small incentive, not that small, but all donors are going to get $30 in Amazon gift cards for donating blood at that drive.
There you go. There's a good incentive.
Yeah, so that gift you've been wanting for your son, but you don't want to pay for it, just donate blood and then use your Amazon gift card to buy it.
Absolutely. There you go. That's a good initiative. I like it.
Yeah.
I think you have talked me into it.
There you go.
Without talking me into it. So, the Thornton Review is on the air to provide public service awareness and intellectual infrastructure to our community. This show was made possible by Ida Gates Godly Teas LLC, Alpha Fence Company, and our guest, Zack Brantley, American Red Cross. It was great to have you on. I really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having
It
me.
was a very nice conversation. Love it. So, and we thank you for watching this episode of the Thornton Review. Bye-bye.